Hey to everyone, and welcome to our next cipher called Art, Competition, and Future of Breaking. My name is Sergei, and today I will be hosting this small talkative format, and we're going to discuss this very vital question about Olympics, breaking. Is it an art or a sports? What we're having behind it, what conversation, what polar views and philosophies, what are consisting the essence of this art form. Is it hip hop still or not? So we're having a lot of questions and concerns. And immediately, I want to represent my co-hoster, our guest, Lev Bobisch. Lev is also a dancer, DJ, event organizer, subcultural researcher. So we've been doing a lot of things together, including festivals in Russia and worldwide, some programming. So welcome, Bobish. Maybe a
Hey,
few words. Yeah.
nice to be here. Yes, Lev Bobisch representing IS Northside, Russia, Flow Job Crew Germany, Hip Hop Library, Block Respect Worldwide. Let's rock this talk.
Wow, nice, nice, nice. So just a small announcement. So if you will have some questions, please type that in the chat or send us via any means through the MC website or whatever. Today we're having these very vital questions about art and competition. And maybe the very first thing I want to drop on the table. So that would be my question to the Bobish. How do you consider is finally breaking is an art or a sports? And so could you please start with this thing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Yes, I'll also say a couple of words about my background in this. I started
Mhm.
breaking, I started dancing in 1999. And since then, I've been judged, I don't know, thousands of times, and I judged myself hundreds of times, different competitions from small ones to big ones. And I've seen a whole long evolution process from the way it was done in 2000s and in the end of 90s until today, and it's been a long process of change. It's changed a
Mhm.
lot, and it has changed dramatically. And I should say that maybe a lot of people are not going to agree with me, but I would say breaking is not sport. It pretends to be sport mm, to get benefits from being a sport, right? Because it's way easier to make something commercially successful when it's a sport than if it's some underground subcultural phenomenon, which is, hard to describe in a short sentence. You need a page to describe what is hip hop. People say self-consciousness, community consciousness, all of that, cultural research type of stuff. And if you say it's sport, you're good to go, you're easy to go. So I would say breaking consists of all of that. We had it on our IS Northside poster once. We had breaking. It's art, dance, and sport all together, because yes, you do have a huge dance part inside of it, and that's the main part to my understanding. Then in terms of originality and moves composition, that's definitely artistic component. And then the way you do it, it should look fit, it should look awesome, and it should look difficult, and it should be difficult. That's the sport part. And in different people, different events, it can be different, can be 30% everything, or sometimes depending on judges, it can tend more towards being more sportive, or some events it can tend more towards being more dance, or towards being more art, more abstract type of contest. So it's all of that, and it shifts from one thing to another. Yes.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and I would like to maybe to put the emphasis on what you've been saying about the hip hop culture. And for me, as a hip hop scholar, for the member of the cultural studies community and to the member of the hip hop community at the same time, it's very important to emphasize that breaking and hip hop dance, they're all part of one bigger hip hop culture. And we know that typical like four well-known hip hop elements like breaking, DJing, rap music, and graffiti, as well as knowledge, for now is like well spread among the not only hip hop community, but I would say among the hip hop scholars as well as maybe even wider audience. But those very typical four elements, how do you consider how they're developing in the parallel with the breaking, or they're for now we can't say that this is one culture? They don't keep together anymore, or how do you feel about it?
I'd say definitely the newer generation. They in the newer generation they are less separate, but of course the older generation who's been in the game for decades, they keep it alive as one culture. That's for sure. And talking about this sport perspective, and the competition perspective, breaking is a little different from all the other elements because it's hard to imagine that any of the other four elements could be considered as a sport or be somehow included into Olympics. Like imagine emceeing wouldn't fit, DJing, music wouldn't fit, graffiti wouldn't fit. Graffiti, that's definitely art, right? You can't say it's sport. But breaking has a little detail, a little, particular feature that makes it distinct from all of the other four elements or 9 elements, like Keres once says, including beatbox and fashion, which are also definitely not sport, none of them. Breaking has that part where you can perform one element stronger or weaker. So, for example, you can spin on your head, do head spins, spin on your hand, do 99 90s, the move. And when you count the amounts of turns you did, well, that can be considered as a sport. So if you just put one element and separate it from the whole cultural and dance part of breaking, and for example, you just compete using only one element and you say, okay, we're going to judge only how many rounds of 90s you do, then this is the very sport part. Yes, you can judge that fairly. Everyone's going to agree, okay, he did 21 rounds. He did 19 rounds. He's definitely the champion. He did 21 rounds. And, everyone can agree on that. You can record that on camera. Everyone would watch that later on and say, yes, I agree. This result is real. It's a legit result. It's not biased, nothing. This is real. The same with headspin. You can judge how many rounds you do, how fast you do it, what forms you have. In that sense, headspin would be something similar to figure skating, right? Where people they do the drills, they spin on ice on the legs, and they do different shapes and forms, and this is judgeable. You can judge that as a separate part. So breaking has that sportive part in it because it has elements. And elements can be judged purely as sport in terms of how many rounds you did, how fast it is, and what kind of shapes you have. Because there are shapes that are easier. You hold your hat like this. That's an easy shape for 90, right? If you try and grab, everything and try to spin like that, that's going to be way more complicated. You get more points if it's judged like sport. So that thing definitely wins. Yes, so breaking in that sense is definitely different from
the
other elements in my mind. Yes.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. But before we're going forward to the very sensitive issue of the judgment, the judging of those competitions, I would like spin back like with our turntable and go back to the early times of the breaking when it was born in the 70s. Concrete place of New York, parties, block parties. Um, so godfathers of DJs like DJ Herc or DJ Flash or Bambata, they making parties first of all. Yes, attracting crowd of people watching, and maybe some people participating, donating some money, bringing those records, rare records, bringing their turntables. So this is the whole bunch of equipment, people, community, even some environments of the place. What do you think about it? If it still makes sense to keep it somehow, or do we living in the very new environment of the like 2026? That's the whole new era. What do you think about it?
I guess, it all exists. All of that exists. So luckily, we still have that jam spirit and that original Bambata, Cool Herc jam spirit. Where very good that you brought it up. The very first hip hop party, people were donating money. So the entrance to the jam, that money was used to pay for Cool Herc's sisters' school supplies. And imagine what kind of energy a party or a jam has when you know that this is the goal of the jam. You get together to gather money to fundraise for education, to fundraise for the future, for newer generation. That's absolutely different type of energy than everyone goes in and they know all the money that is gathered, most of that is going to go to the winners and the organizers. Yeah, so that creates a different type of spirit, different type of style, different type of vibe that people have at the events. But luckily, all of that is still hip hop culture. One thing is more competitive. People go there. Also depends on what age you are. You are at, to say so. When you're young, you're wild, you're very competitive, then you tend to visit those events more, of course. But as you turn older and you can't compete as often anymore, you start getting some health issues. Yes, a lot of breakers in their 40s, they had numerous operations, meniscus, knees, spines, everything, and this is not well researched yet. Probably someday people would put out the results, what sacrifices b-boys undergo to keep this dance going. It's not meant to be done forever on this incredibly high sportive level. So people who want to continue being inside the culture, who want to continue breaking and dancing, they start to search for different reasons why they do so. Not only to win that money, win that trophy, but to to elevate the community, to be together finally, and most importantly, be together, see older friends, keep that community spirit alive, keep that feeling of something special that unites this group of people together. So yes, all of that exists, and luckily the original hip hop spirit is still definitely there inside a lot of jams. Yes, and that is awesome. Yes, and we are really lucky that it's still so. And I hope it continues like that. Yes.
Yeah, from my personal perspective, that's my personal story. When I started dancing only after 30, I would say 32, 33, and I only made my first steps. I tried to join some jams to show up on the battles, and this is very interesting for me to see that perception of that older guys that's only started, and to all people in the community, like I would say in the party, if I'll approach some old school b-boy and say my story that I only started after 30 years, they would say, wow, Nice, nice. They will support anyway, and uh, that's very nice to hear.
Yes, so you got that
Um,
positive feedback
yeah,
from the OGs, from the older
yeah,
generation. What about
yeah.
the younger
That's what
generation?
I
When you
feel.
told them I started at 30, what did they tell
Well,
you?
that's diverse. That's diverse,
Yes.
and that differs a little bit because sometimes. So it depends. I would say to some concrete people, if I would approach some like junior battle, and
Hmm.
would say that I would be also an OG because I'm like 35 or I'm more than because I'm older than you. I got more experience than you, so I don't know. So it could be an issue for the respect. I mean, my age not meaning that much to those guys are like ready to get the first prize,
Yeah,
and in that
sure, sure.
sense,
It makes sense. Yes, we were the same when we were also entering the game back then. We were the same. We're like, why,
right?
why should somebody be any better than me just because he's longer inside that thing?
Yeah, yeah, that's what I
Or
mean.
the
Yeah,
age. Yeah, yeah, it
yeah,
makes sense.
exactly. Exactly. So this is a kind of sensitive question
Mhm.
to the guys like me are only entering in the very like the AG, and they try to enter the dance scene. I wouldn't say I can mark a lot of people like that in the professional scene, but generally, if we're speaking about the like common community and just recreative issues, I would say that's interesting. That's interesting how it goes. But going forward, let's speak about Olympics. So you've been mentioning a lot about judgment, but what is coming to my mind, this is the Olympic motto. Uh,
Mhm.
what is faster, uh, higher, stronger, and I know that was an addition not long ago, uh, and it was something like together.
Mhm.
So how do you feel about it?
If it's all if it's possible to apply to breaking.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess yes, yes, you could apply all of that. Yes, probably most of the stuff you do, if you make it, faster, stronger, higher, and together as a community, that fits even better. Yes, probably all of that applies. Yes, that would make any breaking solo better. Yes,
Uh-huh.
but at the same time, there are things that are definitely way out of any possible quick description of any sport jargon. For example, what's flow? What's
Mhm.
style? What's flavor? Yes, what's originality? What's consistency in terms of being consistent with your, I don't know, crew tradition, your country's tradition? How do you even measure that in terms of sport? Like, is it important to be original, or can you just, if you are super fit, can you just copy all the best moves and win with them? And then we come to the question, how would you evaluate if that person is stealing moves, biting in breaking jargon, if he's a biter or if he's not? How do we evaluate that? He could easily say, or she could easily say, I grew up in a small village in you say Japan, Russia, Brazil. I've never seen any YouTube videos. I created all the moves myself. And there is going to be absolutely no way to prove that that person is lying or not. Yes, we see the videos and we see, okay, we've seen those moves before, but it doesn't mean that the person who told that they created the moves themselves, it doesn't mean that they're lying, because there is no way that we can prove it. We all have two hands, two legs, one head. It means that we may end up, there is some likelihood that we may create similar moves that may look similar. So maybe that person stole movements, or maybe they did create the movements themselves. And this is gonna make judging breaking really complicated in the future. And I think maybe people probably will have a lot of different concepts how to deal with that issue of biting, stealing, copyright in breaking. Probably some people will say from now on we don't care, because there are so many dancers around the world. We just don't care about being not being a biter, being original. We just don't care anymore. This is now open source, everyone can use everything. That'll be one approach. Maybe some people will say let's copyright moves somehow. For example, now there is this idea that if you did a move on an event and if it's been recorded, then you may consider that your move. But this is tricky. Still some person may say, well, I had it in my village before that moment. I had it, I just don't have it on tape. Yes. Or some people may say that's a small event, it doesn't count. They may say you need to go to a bigger event to claim that moves, that you showed it to a bigger audience. Maybe we'll have some third technical approach and people will try to make a business out of it, and they'll copyright movements on some server database blockchain type of thing. That'll be also the third approach. Or as I said before, people would just give up on this and they say it doesn't apply anymore. If it's about sport, then we don't care who created it, which tradition, from where it comes from. It doesn't matter anymore. So yes, that'll be a really tough thing with that one. Yes.
Yeah, I definitely see some coincidence with the show business, as well as copyright as a great issue for now. I would say for the music making guys, for the composers, for the hip hop heads, sampling something and then dealing with some problems with the copyright for the samples, or for some musical ideas, for some notes coincidence or something like that. So I would say this is a very common thing for the all artistic means of expression. And by the way, this is very interesting idea how show business is interconnected through music with breaking, especially for the public performances on the Olympics. How music is it copyrighted to 100%? Because as far as I know, DJs are still playing using their own playlists or their own LPs. I don't know how it's organized.
Technically, I'm not too sure how they did it, if they bought all the copyright for the tracks for the Olympics. But the good thing was that the playlist of the Olympics, what they played, the track list was awesome. It was, better than a lot of jams today. It was really, really, really good, really, really good playlist. It was all classic, all James Brown, all funk, all the good stuff. Yes. So in terms of music, Olympics was 100% perfect. Yes. But technically, I don't know how they managed to do it. They bought it. Yeah. Probably they could get the copyrights. They have some finance to do it. Yes.
Yeah. Can't believe. So meanwhile, I see in our chat some questions are dropping. Yeah. So maybe we could read it right now. Okay, Bobisch?
Sure. Yeah. Let's rock it. Yeah. Yes, we have comment and a question.
Good.
Awesome. Yes.
Yeah. Question number one. I'm curious, when you first heard breaking was going to be in the Olympics, what was your honest first reaction? Excited, skeptical, confused, all of the above? Yeah, I was a little bit impressed of that is really happening, because I thought it's only gossip. But just some time after that, I knew that some guys started to form a kind of a committee in Russia, and just to cover that on the very official level, and forming some group of top managers and top b-boys, trying to figure out the whole scheme, how to build up the countryside for that. Yeah, that was my case. But what about you, Bobisch?
I was definitely excited, and I was also happy that breaking made it to the Olympics. And also, since I'm inside this game for over 25 years, I've seen it coming this way. Even watching the earlier battles, participating in the earlier battles, you could imagine and predict that one day breaking is gonna get there. It was getting more and more recognition. People understood it's vital, it's vibrant, it's amazing. It's complexities above the rooftop. It's just a really, really great thing that humans can do. If aliens watch us, if they see breaking, they say, oh, earthlings, they got something. They got something up their sleeves. Yes, it's a good thing they can do, surfing and breaking. Yes, and music, of course. And art. So all the hip hop elements, basically, plus surfing. Yes. So I was definitely happy, and I could see it coming. The same with you may make comparisons with a lot of stuff that developed to some new level recently. For example, the AI thing. When people invented computers and they started analyzing data, collecting data, trying to make it bigger, you could predict that one day it will come to that level, that it will be, such thing as AI. The same with breaking. As soon as you start judging, as soon as you start competing, you know where it's going. It's going to that final level of recognition, and that is on Earth, that is Olympics. Yes, in terms of competitive stuff. Yes. So, and breaking made it, and that was the happy moment for a lot of people, because it makes it immediately very easy to explain to anybody outside of hip hop culture what the heck we are doing. We are doing this big thing that is recognized. It's there. So it's a lot of promotion, a lot of advertisement for breaking as a culture. As I told before, great music tracks were played. So people who were watching that on TV, they had their chance to listen to funk music. They had their chance to listen to rap and scratch. So maybe for some of them that was the first time they experienced that. And the prejudice part of it, the stereotype part of it, was out, because once people see it on big screen on TV with Olympic logos, they say, oh, that's real. You can't deny that. People like to go with the crowd, with the general public. They don't want to be outsiders, and they saw, general public supports it. So I support it too. So for breaking, that was great moment of recognition for sure. Of course, there were some additional interesting sides of the story that people didn't like, people couldn't understand. People could, gossip about who gets invited, why do they get invited, why are they that good, why not him, why not her, why not anybody, why not Nord Diamond, why not yes. And what about judges? Also, people were questioning that a lot as well. Like, why is she judging, why is he judging, why are they competing? Yes. So, but it made sense. They had some explanation why they did so. For the judging part, I think they, not only the breaking career was important, but also, which was pretty cool, also was a nice moment and happy moment for hip hop knowledge and hip hop science, that they also picked people who were kind of into hip hop research, not only famous inside breaking scene. A lot of people hated on that, but I thought that was also nice and interesting. And also there were a couple of moments where there were some misunderstanding. A lot of people hated because they wanted their favorite underground things to be included into Olympics and not breaking, because for some reason they didn't like breaking. So some people hated on it, and then everyone knows that story with the Ray Gun meme, the Australian B-girl meme. Yes, maybe we would talk about that later on as well. Yes, but generally answering that question from the chat, I was definitely excited and definitely really happy.
Yeah, thanks, Bobisch. Thanks, Bobisch. We could also talk a little bit later about, general benefits that are getting dance schools, especially attracting more crowds and giving more reliable, like a respectful source for that. I mean, building possible career for those students, especially in Russia. I can trace it very easily that guys are building great schools, attracting lots and lots of members, new people coming. Everything is flourishing, and that's
Absolutely.
bringing the whole industry back to the hip hop culture and helping to support at the same time some dancer. So maybe a little bit later, and for now, I see another question is rising in our chat. If you're like, okay, I would read it.
Yeah, and there is a nice comment. Let me read the comment. Comment from the audience. After a long break, I am getting back to training at my 34 and a half years old. Awesome. Yes.
Nice,
Give it up
nice,
to that
nice.
person. Yes, they're really awesome. Yes, and I've heard many stories like this. A lot of people are getting back after their long pauses. Yes, and that's pretty awesome. So if that becomes a chain reaction soon, we'll have pretty nice situation in this culture.
Agree fully. So question number 2, do you think it's possible for someone to really get breaking if they're only watching Olympic style battles and never go to a local jam? Wow.
That's an interesting question. I would say no, it's not possible. And generally, even going one time to a local jam wouldn't help, because you start to slowly understand what's going on after years inside this culture, after watching a lot of interviews, talking to different people, being at different jams, trying different battles yourself, experimenting with the other elements, reading books about hip hop, learning about hip hop's history, the original, the Bronx situation of the 70s. All the fight, the struggle that generation had. The story behind the movement, the segregation, fight for the rights, everything. Only when when this forms into a bigger picture, and for that to happen it takes years, only then you would start understanding, getting breaking more or less. And I would say all of us are still students forever, because there are people who are longer in this, who keep their inspiration for longer periods of time, twice as much. Or there are people who are breaking at their 50s, the original pioneers who are still breaking, and there is still so much to learn from them, and so much to get inspired from. Yes, so no, the answer to that question would be no. It wouldn't be possible to understand breaking from only watching Olympics, and nor would that be possible by only visiting once or twice, even a good local jam. Yes, so you would need more. But if we mean understanding breaking as something more spiritual, like maybe feeling the vibe, maybe getting those goosebumps, that is possible. That is possible from the Olympics, or from visiting one single jam, to get that spark, get that fire in your soul, so that you fall in love with the culture, with the music, with the moves. That is possible from a single battle. That's for sure.
Or I can add maybe if we're speaking about the simply image, like dancing, figuring, how it goes. I mean, the technical aspect of the dance style. So, because I remember one story, I've been taking part of the festival in Belgrade, if I'm not confusing. And I've been meeting one guy who's doing great at contemporary dance, and he was telling his story how he was getting into the some university abroad, like in Europe, getting from Russia some stipend, and he was showing some breaking elements when he was passing his exam, his dancing exam, and that was very core point that like everybody was mentioning, wow, that guy was showing something very special. And that could be the case, showing that the form of the dance could be also important when we're speaking about some mixtures, some other styles, something like that. But generally, I agree with you, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. The form is definitely recognizable. People, it's that sticky and it's that strong that pretty much any cartoon. Any cartoon you watch, you would see some cartoon character doing small breaking move. A lot of commercials, they use it. You can't deny that the form is very attractive. Yes.
Yeah, that's true. That's absolutely true. So we have another question from the same commenter. How old is you, Bobisch? Are you still training, and how much?
I was born 1986. I was born in Leningrad, not St. Petersburg at that time. Yes. So and I am 39. And yes, I'm still training a lot. I'd say 3-4 times a week. Yes. I was visiting Russia recently, this winter break. I trained there a lot. And today, after this program finishes, I'm going to go to capital, to Santa Cruz, and I'm going to go and join the breaking training, breaking cipher. Yes. So I'm still doing it. Yes, of course. Yes.
Wow. Do you know any guys from the local community that are like wishing to go to some Olympic crew, or maybe hoping to do so?
Actually, here on the Canary Islands, on Tenerife especially, the community is very grassroots in terms of everyone is very much underground hip hop. Yes, very much true to the essence, true to the ciphers. Not really that much into trying to make that push that into champion career. At the same time, the level here is awesome. People are doing great things here. Yes, great community. Yes, and great practice spot. Absolutely true to the culture. Really awesome. Yes. Yeah, that's that.
Wow, nice. So maybe going forward, I would address here another question about judgment that you've been passionately emphasizing in the very beginning, and maybe you could also say a few more things regarding it.
Yes, I should draw the attention of the audience to the evolution of judging and evolution of the events organization that I've seen throughout my breaking career, so that people understand more the whole curve that we're going through right now. So the curve was that originally any jam you take 2000s, you would come to a jam. People would register their names or their crew names on a piece of paper. Then somebody from the organization would cut all those crew names, put it inside the hat, and then they would draw in front of everybody using the microphone. They would draw the names out of that hat, and anybody would be able to battle anybody. Yes. Nowadays, people started to emphasize that this was the good concept. This was the fair breaking organization. For example, Slav from Art from the Heart from St. Petersburg and Bulgaria, representing those places. He recently made an Instagram story post that he said we need to go back to that original concept of drawing from the hat and stop the elimination thing we are experiencing right now. So the more we head up towards the top of that curve, we see that concept is being used less and less. We see people are now worried that two strong dancers would, if you draw them randomly from the hat, two strong dancers, two influencers, two big Instagram accounts, whatever, they would, come clash against one another immediately, right? And they want them for the finals, right? The organizers, they want them for the finals. They want the event to be shorter. They want it to be more predictable. They want it to be more controlled. And at the end of the day, they want the good dancers, the so-called, elite of the scene. They want the elite to be happy. They want the elite to keep coming to the events. And if they come against one another in the first battle, one gets kicked out, and maybe some weaker teams, they would pass to the finals, and the finals wouldn't be as exciting. That was absolutely the case in the beginning. When I started, that was no problem. People had absolutely no problem. Okay, that was your bad luck. You got kicked out pretty quickly because that was still the best battle of the event. Two strong crews or two strong b-boys against one another, two strong b-girls against one another. That's a cool, strong battle immediately during minute number 1 of the event. It was possible. Nowadays, it's not possible. Nowadays, this is decided behind the scenes. You have a huge elimination round. In Spanish, they call it filtro. That doesn't even sound right because people get filtered as dirt, or what do you have to filter? It's the community. It's all gold, all pure. And then after the filter round, after the elimination round, the judges behind the scene are going to say, okay, these are the 8 or 16 dancers or teams that are going to the actual battles. And, all the other people, they did showcase. They didn't have the initial hip hop right to battle, and that's a sad thing, because I think every b-boy and every b-girl, it's their right to have a real battle. Yes. It should be the real battle. And even if you lose it, even if judges show against you, still you had that experience. You had that exchange with the opponent, with that strong opponent who, they smoked you, they burnt you, but that's how you learned your lesson. Without that experience, that's going to be different to progress from there on. If you already, all the time you are behind, you are filtered. You are never passing to the battle stage of the event. You are all the time out. You're all the time not led to the actual essence of hip hop, the battle. So I definitely think that we as breaking community, all the b-boys and b-girls who are watching this right now, let's push this idea. Let's push the idea of starting to organize events again with the original hat concept, writing everybody on the piece of paper, cutting, and doing it in front of everybody. It's super transparent, super classic, super hip hop spirit. Yes. And I myself, I'm going to do an Instagram story on this as well. Yes, for sure. Yes. Or do VK story, any social media that is, available and welcome in your country. Use that media to promote the idea of organizing jams the way they were, and the way that makes them more inclusive, so that every b-girl and b-boy has their right to be inside a real battle, even if they lose that battle pretty quickly.
Yeah, and speaking about some fair attitudes regarding that, you mentioned press selection procedure and maybe forming a schedule of the battling, who's battling with whom, and all that stuff around the judging. Also, maybe we should think about the whole industry itself. And I got another thought that if we could approach this as a kind of a business, a kind of as a business model, then we'll have another conclusions because we need that predictability if we're speaking about some, building big corporation, maintaining big business, keeping that money flows, commercials, a big sponsorship. If we're speaking about those things, we can't, do that hectic and to keep that wicked spirit of the street jam.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
that feeling I had. Yeah,
And this is absolutely right. Yes. So business needs predictability. Business needs charts. Business needs something that they can rely on. They need the numbers. They need predictable hours. They need predictable, incomes. They want it to be really, really predictable in all possible senses. And with jams and with as you told, raw energy of hip hop, yes, that makes it less predictable. Maybe people decide and do a call out battle that takes all the attention and time from the event, and yes, or people just cipher more than they get than they battle. They use all the cool stuff in the ciphers, and they kind of even ignore the battles. And as a promoter, you don't want that unpredictability. You don't want that
yeah.
event going into some
Dangerous way, for
dangerous
instance,
way.
or yeah.
Yes. So
Mhm.
as business, of course, it makes all sense. And eliminations, that makes sense too. Yes, because you can't be organizing a jam for the whole day. You rent a venue, you rent it for 3 hours, 5 hours. You want it to, or half a day. If it's a huge event, then it's for days already. You can't be jamming for a week. Yes. So if you want 500 participants and you want it to be predictable, then that leads to what we have today, and that makes sense, of course. Yes. But this is sometimes not too good for the community, not too good for average or weaker part of the community that is not as strong. For them, it leads to being excluded from the battles. Yes.
Yeah, and we have intersecting question, what we've been speaking before. It's like, do you think breaking needs to be a sport in order to survive and grow, or could it have stayed an underground art form?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question from the audience. Yes, thanks for that question, for sure. That's deep. Yes, that's deep, and I think that this could be an interesting point, and a research topic, thesis topic for hip hop researchers too, and for us as hip hop researchers. Yes, I think it definitely could survive being an underground art form, and it did, because breaking had waves. It was more popular during the 80s, for example. In the beginning, if you ask older generation, they would say, oh, I thought breaking was a thing of the past. When I was a kid, people did electric boogie. They would, because it was popular back then. Then it had its underground period, and it survived because still there were enough of people who continued the tradition, who continued. One description of breaking I like to use, I call breaking a language. And even if there is a small minority of people who still speak the language is going to survive. if it's if it's still spoken, it's going to survive. Yes. And then at some point, it may become trendy again, and that's what happened. We saw it as well. Like, for example, the wave European countries and Russia experienced in the end of 90s with flying steps in Germany, yes, and jam style the boogie in Russia. It was showcased on TV a lot. Everyone was talking about it. It was so popular. Everybody would dance it on on local parties, discotheques and stuff. Then it kind of faded again out, but the community kept it. The people kept speaking that language, and which brought us to next stages where general public again got interested in it. And I was just mentioning really, really huge milestones from the top of my head. You can categorize it way better. You may find dozens of stages it went through, ups and downs, but as long as some amount of people, reasonable amount of people, keep speaking the language, it will survive. And I guess from now on it will definitely survive, because there are enough of people around the world who speak breaking language.
Yeah, good. Good ideas, Ryzen. Yeah. To my mind, I would add that is definitely always in many art forms we can trace that division to the very professional groups and to very, let's say, recreation groups that are doing mostly about local communities, just supporting local style and life, making it not as much as a sport, but more as a fitness, or just having fun, what is also very important to my mind. So this is two very different levels, and we have to keep that in mind, that both levels and both issues are very important, because they're interconnected in some sense. And by the way, we have another question, right? Could breaking undergo the same transformation in the future as some dancers that have become sports? When standards are created and over time you have to follow a template. Well, how do you interpret that, Bobisch?
If we could undergo the same transformations, I guess to some extent, yes. You may get templates, you may get guidelines, you may get, even breaking uniform, sportive uniform that you have to wear to participate. And there are events where you have, you gotta have your number on top of your back. Some people really hate on that; they don't like it. But it's a big event. It's it's going in direction of sport. Yes, it could get there. Absolutely, yes. But at the same time, there still will be, breaking is so decentralized as whole hip hop. There is no single entity that controls it. Everyone is free to organize a jam. Everyone is free to organize a battle. So you would definitely, if it goes really, really in bad direction, you would definitely have the opposing force of some people saying, no, we want to make it differently. And actually, we already start seeing that, because there are, particularly in Russia, and I've seen that in Germany too, there are alternative jams where people judge differently. Yes, for example, the block respect system night league in St. Petersburg, where people judge all the participants of the jam. They judge by open voting. Yes, and that's a different approach. Then there are people who try to create different types of contests where musicality is the king, where the best round in terms of musicality wins. And if you make such a criterion, then definitely different people are going to win. You may make one amazing round that is super connected to the music and win the whole event because it was so inspirational, so connected to the music. Whereas to win a sportive event, you need to have numerous rounds. You need to be very fit. You need to have at least, 5, 7, 10 rounds. that are composed of great sportive moves to win that event. Whereas if you judge purely best musicality, best round in terms of music, a different person could win that wouldn't win a sportive event. Yes, so I see, yes, templates would be made, but at the same time, breaking is free, and people are free to organize the way they want, and the community may decide and support the gems they feel that support them.
Yeah, nice, Bobish. So we're just having another question dropping in our chat. So have you already seen AI, artificial intelligence, being used in breaking or hip hop culture, like music, videos, or training? Any examples that impressed or worried you? Wow, that's very modern thing to discuss. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a yes. That's an important question, and I guess we'll see a lot more of that in the future.
In the future, yeah, right.
First of all, people started like one of the first use cases. People started making posters for jams using AI. That's a quick, easy way to do a poster. It takes 5 minutes, and you have somewhat visually okay poster. But as soon as that started, there was some counter movement. I've seen posts from German b-boys, some guy from Eska Flow crew. Yes, probably. Yeah, that was probably Eska Flow crew who mentioned that they said, stop doing it. They told, when you purchase a poster from a local graffiti artist, you make community alive. You pay local artist. He shares his thoughts. He shares his style, his ideas. People get to know him. Maybe somebody will hire him later on for some wall
Another production
piece.
Yeah.
Another production, anything. Yes. And people get inspired, and this becomes way more authentic. But you need some money. So I guess nowadays we see this interesting contradiction that what is good for the culture sometimes is not good for business, and sometimes it's not profitable. So probably we'll see that even more in the future. But there are a lot of people who are definitely into being altruistic, who are even willing to donate and sacrifice profits for the sake of something else, for the sake of respect, for the sake of community building. And as long as we have those, this will stay balanced, and this will stay blessed. Yes.
Oh, nice. Thanks, Bobish. To my perspective, I would say very oftenly I see music is made by artificial intelligence, and to the level of the proficiency, I would say that it's really complicated to define what is music is made like by DJ electronically using some devices, or it's fully made by artificial intelligence. It could be really complicated, and I know it's the same issue for some labels, and there is a lot of discussions arising right now about if that's good, right, or wrong, using those that music, like not real one, or is it okay to use it in sense of copyright also. So there are a lot of things arising. To my perspective, I would say some people could use artificial intelligence in the future, like for some very for like calculating votes, for example, to utilize it to something very raw, useful things like that. But I'm not sure how it will be perceived in the future regarding art forms, about visuals, and so on. So this quite discussable issue. So thank you so much for the question. Thank you so much, Bobish, for the insightful talk on this online. Thank you, American Center, for having us, for inviting us. And this is an honor to be a part of it. By the way, I want to make a short announce for the next session. That will be on January 20, and it's called The Courage to Compete, an American woman's rise in Jiu-Jitsu. So quite intriguing also. So keep in touch and have a nice evening. Thanks and
Yeah.
peace
Thank
to
you so much.
everyone.
Thank you so much, everybody. Peace.
All good.